Hello, I'm Peter Cahoon, and in this series we're on a quest to unearth some of Australia's best architectural talent. Now, as an architect, this is an amazing journey to be part of. Welcome to Australia by Design Architecture. Last series, we saw an incredible array of projects, from the intriguing concrete statement of the Punch Bowl Mosque to the delightful Frashney Lodge in Tasmania, and everything in between, with Loon de Sang in the Byron hinterland ultimately winning the entire series. And now we're back to do it all over again with a fresh round of exciting architecture from across Australia.
We've got quite a diverse range. We've got little quirky retreats, some beautifully designed bespoke houses in the country and the city, some great public buildings and some wonderful community buildings.
We've gathered an expert panel of design industry leaders, and we're doing the judging all by Zoom this time.
What we call the new normal.
We've got professional architects, we've got material suppliers, and we've got people who just have a general interest in design.
We're fortunate enough to be joined by an international judge who's bringing a broader perspective to the project discussion.
Michelle, welcome on board.
I think that the conversations that are interesting to all of us, it doesn't matter our nationalities, which that's what's been amazing, is it clever? From their ideas to their execution to their final design, build, and connection to the environment, no?
Our judges will decide who they think will go through to our top 10 best of the best final later in the series.
All of us have a passion for architecture and design. We're not TV show ponies, and hopefully we're giving an authentic take on it.
Coming up in the first episode, the remarkable new Perth Children's Hospital. I'm looking at what you can do with new money in Berwick, and Jill's looking at a shed in Tasmania.
I'm always a bit dubious when architects ask me to come and have a look at a shed.
But first, a design that quite literally embraces nature.
Taronga Wildlife Retreat, I think, is a fantastic build. For someone who wants a full interactive experience of the Taronga Zoo, this is the place to stay.
What this project shows is how the demands of a hotel can be harmonised with the habitat of the wildlife at the zoo.
When you say eco-retreat, you would think of venturing out into the wilderness. But this one I'm about to show you is right here on the majestic Sydney Harbour. Alex, I never expected a hotel experience at the zoo.
I know, welcome. Isn't it unique? Let me show you around.
Wow, Alex, this is a great first impression.
I know, isn't it amazing? So this is the Nagara Lounge. It's where guests check in, check out, where they start their sanctuary tours, and it's really the heart of the retreat experience. Taronga needed a new accommodation product that was environmentally sensitive, sustainable, and something that really nestled within the existing site.
You're pitching this to who?
There's a mixed audience that we've seen so far, so lots of families, lots of young children, which is great because that's really at the core of what Taronga does, educating children up, and then lots of couples as well.
I can't help but notice that this view is a hero part of this room.
We're incredibly lucky to have a view like this, and the Nagara Lounge, the design of it was very much formed around it, making sure we achieved that amazing harbour view.
Oh, Nick, look at this experience. This is just majestic.
To have this opportunity to engage with nature in such an intimate way, it's really special. You feel that they're almost in your room, you know. You're just right outside your window and you can open it up and have a little chat to them.
From the outset, the zoo's brief to us was to create a habitat for the animals, as natural a landscape as possible so the animals would feel right at home, be healthy and flourish. And we worked hand in hand with Cox Architects to really make sure the materiality and the character of the landscape just melded and bleeds in really well with the buildings.
The retreat is designed to achieve a 5-star Green Star environmental rating which will make it one of the first hotels in Australia to get to that level. And part of that is initiatives like the CLT timber structure that all these pods are built from, and the timber cladding and the sun shading elements that you can see with the sort of leaf patterns, and the black butt cladding on the buildings. So there's all sorts of sustainable approaches which also help integrate the building into its environment.
Nick, I noticed walking around the retreat that the corridors are on the outside, unlike other hotels where they're in the core.
Yeah, and that was a very conscious decision to make it part of the whole environment and the experience, engaging with nature very close. You can touch the leaves, you can look down at the animals below and the landscape. So it's part of the sustainability to achieve natural ventilation, obviously, for these areas as well, rather than having to air condition them.
Equally with the experience of any hotel is the restaurant, isn't it? And this one here seems to be sitting on top, just like its crown.
It does. It's a wonderful piece of jewellery to sit above the retreat, and the curved form of the building responds to the adjacent Taronga Centre. The thing that it really tries to celebrate is the outlook to the harbour and the CBD.
Having been set such a challenging task to not only design a remarkable set of buildings, but to also create an experience that is both sustainable and respectful to its place, I believe the design team have really nailed this one.
Coming up, setting the bar to a new high in hospital design in Perth. Welcome back to Australia by Design Architecture. Next project, the Perth Children's Hospital.
Based on the vision and execution of this incredible project, I could see Perth Children's Hospital going a long way in this series.
It delivers a space in addition to the medicine that will genuinely help with a child's recovery process, and that's pretty special.
I don't know about you, but when I think about hospitals as a mum, I feel a bit sick inside. They're stressful and confusing places, especially when it's your child that's sick. But Perth Children's Hospital claims to have reframed the way we think about hospitals, what they look and feel like.
How can we design a contemporary children's hospital through the eyes of children? They're coming here in conditions of stress. To create spaces that are legible and welcoming to kids was one of the key ambitions.
Wow, Steve, this is spectacular. This beautiful open space and natural light in a hospital. I mean, that's unusual.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, really.
Yeah. This gallery space is really the heart space of the whole hospital.
Right.
This is the social spine, if you like, over multi-levels, as you can see. Every ingredient of the hospital is accessible from here, whether it's the kids' rooms or clinics, etc. There's the ability from each of the kids' rooms to see Sky, Kings Park, and in some cases the river as well.
So that's interesting because it is something that I'm quite interested in biophilic design, and there's proven health benefits that if you can see nature from your room, that your healing time is faster, your pain threshold is higher.
Yep.
So that's obviously been incorporated at this perfect location.
The creative team attached to this project is enormous. Not just architects, but all of the stakeholders, nurses and people who work in the hospital, plus a whole series of youth groups and kids groups. So they actually contributed pretty heavily to the composition of the spaces, to how we use colour, in particular how we created wayfinding from a kid's perspective. There's a whole sequence of artwork which is integral to the building, not just as, if you like, individual pieces, but as a collective. There are a whole range of experiences, whether it's screens or sculptures for kids to play on. This is one of the very early but pretty critical sketches, which was looking at inspiration which we took from Kings Park as much as anything. The idea of the stem and petals as being the informing diagram for the entire building.
Right.
And each of the petals, that petal form, that beautiful curvaceous petal form, enables every room to have outlook over this extraordinary parkland. Kings Park has informed the entire plan form of the building, and It's informed the entire colour palette for the building.
These are all natives,
Yes.
native trees
Yep.
and native bushes to the area and flowers. And you've pixelated it, and then you've picked the colours from the pixelations.
Yeah,
That's
so
amazing.
we distilled this photography over a 6-month period, picking up the seasonal cross-section, and then, as you say, we pixelated, selected, and literally out of these came the absolute colours for the entire building.
Filled with colour and a sense of playfulness, this beautifully detailed building demonstrates that good architecture and design can make a sick child and their family's journey just a little less stressful. Pretty special, isn't it?
Coming up, what to do with a large block in Melbourne's urban sprawl. Welcome back to Australia by Design. Well, the question remains, which architectural projects from this episode will be judged by our judges good enough to go through to the final later in the series?
This house shows how we can impact and reflect the values of the family that we're designing the house for.
It's a very high calibre of building here for me. It's a very clean, crisp design, and it fits the brief of what the owners wanted.
Architecture, it's open to interpretation. What one person loves, others will think, what on earth are they thinking? I'm in Berwick, once a rural country town outside of Melbourne, now slowly being consumed by the urban ring, where people are looking far and wide for inspiration to build their homes. We have French chateaux going up, complete with Baroque detailed window. There's Spanish missions with tiled roofs. There's even what seems to be the Italian embassy going up. But I'm about to visit a home that responds to the Australian condition, using simple materials composed to frame the great outdoors. Well, Michael, what makes good Australian design? What makes us distinctive from the rest of the world?
I think it's about a relaxed style of living. It's about beauty with durability and also sort of making the most of the conditions.
Now, you've got a pretty big site here. What was the driving force behind the materials and what have you used?
It's corrugated steel in the monument palette with recycled brick, which we've painted white.
Now, you come back here, you know the client. So what was that like working with someone you knew, a friend of the family?
Oh, it's actually really good. It was fantastic. You need to have a good understanding of what your clients are after and who they are and how they want to live.
Our relationship with Michael is very special. He's a friend of one of our children. We've known him since he was in grade 7 or 8. The other side of that is Susan has an incredible eye for design and details and very clear ideas of what she wants to do.
Now, Susan, I know for a fact you weren't happy with the first design.
We finally had the design, we were ready to build, it all been ticked off, and we came, and I rang Michael. I just had this feeling, I rang Michael, I said, Michael, can we meet on site? He came on site to be confronted by me crying. And I said, I feel we've lost the sense of what this block is about. It's gone from boundary to boundary, and I just feel that it needs to nestle more intimately with the environment we're putting it in. And Michael, to his credit, took it all on board, and 3 days later he presented me with a new design, and I cried again because it was perfect.
Now, Michael, you started off with, is it a 2-acre site?
That's right.
So you decided to put the driveway down the northern side of the site, which opened up the centre, and then you made the big decision of putting the entry and the main living area right smack bullseye in the middle of the site. Once you did that, you were convinced that was the best spot.
That's right. So that was also aligned with the front door, but also the lounge, the formal lounge space beyond.
And that on entry gave you direct access straight down to this great view.
That's right.
So once you got that centred, that main entry living area, then you just put on these other big pavilions, which gave you the H-shaped plan. And then going into this is the private wing. This is where you put the master bedroom, having access to the view.
That's right.
You had the ensuite and the walk-in robe.
Yes. Back in this section, we have additional bedrooms that can be closed down when they're not in use.
Then this main wing here, where the signature spaces are, this is where you have your dining room, your kitchen, and this beautiful sitting area, again orientated down the main axis of the site. Tell me, what was the eureka moment? When did the design unlock for you?
I think it was really when we placed that formal lounge room in the centre of the site. That really unlocked a lot of the design.
That was the decision you stuck with, and yet the rest of it unfolded from there.
Yep.
Wow, it's a simple plan, but offers so much variability.
We love it, and we're very grateful to Michael for designing it for us.
So what happens when life's twists and turns gets in the way of living in your family home? Well, hopefully it's designed on principles that will appeal to everyone, and this certainly is. It's simple and robust. It has plenty of outdoor space, plenty of internal space for the family. It's easily maintained, but there's a certain X factor, and they're the principles that are going to fit most families like a glove.
Sarah Stevenson is one of Australia's leading colour experts, and together with Wattle, Sarah is choosing one project from the series to award the Wattle Best Use of Colour Award. The winner will receive Pantone's latest colour forecast kit. Sarah and Wattle use macro trends and consumer behaviour insights to create trends through bespoke photography and storytelling, and the winner will also receive a private preview of Wattle's 2021 colour forecast. The winner will be announced later in the series.
I'm looking for many things, but I think a project that really demonstrates the understanding of colour association and the human psychological and physiological response to colour is really important.
Coming up, much more than a shed in Tinderbox, Tasmania. Welcome back to Australia by Design Architecture. Now, which projects featured in this episode will be chosen to go through to our best of the best final later in the series? Next, a quirky Tassie shed.
Area Tinderbox is really a very interesting project. It's grown up over a period of some years.
Quite a unique project. It's a little bit quirky and probably not for everybody, but set in a beautiful landscape, and I'm sure when you're actually in it, it's a really enjoyable experience. This project, overlooking the beautiful Bruny Island near Hobart, started its journey as a humble shed. But I'm told it has evolved into something so much more. Tony, I'm always a bit dubious when architects ask me to come and have a look at a shed. I get the feeling it's a bit more than a shed.
There's a bit going on in there.
Yeah.
It's been here for a while now, so there's been a few changes since we were involved.
It's an incredibly steep site and quite a challenge to put a flat-floored shed on something like this. And I see that you've built beautiful timber stairs that lead down to something that looks pretty interesting down there. This is such a special spot. I think I could lounge here for a really long time.
Yeah, it's good. Well, that's what it's for.
How is this connected to the shed?
To the shed. Well, really what we wanted is somewhere just to make things and work, and I had an office in there. Friends wanted to stay there, then we wanted really to put some amenities and do the job properly and get approval for visitor accommodation. This place here, where once we were going to put a studio, became, you know, a place to put the hot tub and a sauna, and really became, in effect, the focal point. This is really the reason why you come here now.
I really love your use of unfinished timbers everywhere. There's no kind of ceiling, they're all naturally weathered, and it's quite a composition, it's beautiful.
This is turpentine from New South Wales. So
that should last forever.
The most durable timber, and it gets punished here around what was saltwater hot tub, then fresh water, hot water. There's always a boat going past or something happening.
Or nothing happening.
Or nothing, yeah, as it might be.
Well, this has got to be the best located sauna I think I've ever been in.
I wouldn't disagree. I think it is the best view. This sauna is just a magic place to sit and relax. And I mean, we've got a view of Storm Bay, Bruny Island, D'Entrecasteaux Channel, outside to cool down.
It's a shame you haven't got any snow for them to roll in.
No, well, snow would be good, but we've got the next best thing, which is an endless supply of cold water.
Cold water.
Yep. That cools you down pretty quickly.
Hey, Wow, this is quite a transformation from a shed.
Yeah, we cut the shed in half and refocused this part straight out on that magnificent view. The window's actually a key feature of the space. They run the whole length of the building.
The rawness of this wall is so interesting.
The boards are straight out of the sawmiller's yard, and in the yard they would have been marked for length, so this would have been a 4.3 metre plank. Oh. So you can see everything that was part of the milling of the wood.
And this little window, it's another little glimpse and controlled view.
There was some discussion about how the bed would be orientated, but facing it straight out there so you can lie in bed and see that beautiful view out of the window is something we were really keen to capture.
Oh, I'd probably spend as much time in here as I would in the sauna, I think.
We know that people are staying here short term and they often want to luxuriate in a bathroom. And a key design move, I guess, was to make the bathroom a bit bigger than was originally proposed so that both the shower and the bath could take advantage of that fantastic view out of the window.
Airy is a project that's grown out of a number of ideas layered over time. It sits beautifully within its landscape.
And now, time to find out which projects from this episode have the judges selected to go through to our final later in the series.
Perth Children's Hospital turns everything that we previously knew about hospital design on its head, and for that it absolutely deserves to be celebrated.
The judging panel were all incredibly excited about this project and how it would change the expectations of hospitals for the future.
Taronga Wildlife Retreat, I think, is a fantastic build. There is no way, in my view, and obviously from the other judges, that this was not a contender.
Join us next time when we look forward to bringing you more remarkable homes from around the country on Australia by Design Architecture.